Hi there. This is James Redfield, and I'm really excited today to announce a book being published. And that book is Anna by Joanne Louise Hardy. And Joanne is with us.
Hi, James. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real pleasure.
Wow, I bet you're excited about this day.
Super excited.
Okay, and we have the publisher with us as well, and that's Kelly Redfield with Insightful Publishing.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
Good, good. Well, I'm going to just talk a little bit. I've written the foreword for this book. It's a kind of an introduction. I, over the years, have worked with Joanne. She is our director at CelestineVision.com. And it was my pleasure to see the process that Joanne went through to get her novel out in the world. And I wrote a heartfelt introduction or preface. It's not very long, but I think what I wanted to press forward about this book is that it's very, very timely. And it's timely because it is a story, and Joanne will talk a lot about this, but it's a novel inspired to reveal the growth process. And I'll talk more about that. But in the introduction, I really tried to stress that it's a new time in the world. And that means that there's a greater consciousness emerging. You could call that a greater spirit of creativity, a sort of a spiritual discovery of our mission individually and collectively. And that is exciting. And once one begins to tune into it, we really can feel it, confirm it for ourselves. And one of the things we're understanding, and I like to talk about the 100-year-old human potential movement that started with Carl Jung, is that, in my view, humanity, because of this long discussion and discovery about what our human potential is, we actually know how to open up that potential. And it's been my message for a number of years. It started with a Celestine prophecy that we're learning how to discover our best story in the world. And that story is one that in which we dream to actualize some work in the world, some contribution in the world. And that's a high inspiration energy that brings on these mysterious synchronicities that prove that we actually live in a spiritual world where we get help. The world doesn't have to be this hard. And we're all in a kind of test about whether we can marshal the energy and the inspiration to move in that direction of consciousness and contribution, in spite of all that is slowing us down right now. So, what we're all doing then is to get past whatever blocks we have in our life story. What we don't want to look at, the traumas and the missteps and the errors. It's hard to look at that, and sometimes it's just better to be distracted with some other activity. But the great burst of inspiration, energy for this life, as talked about by the Human Potential Movement, is that once we do look at our life very, very realistically, all the time we wasted, what we've done wrong, what we wish we hadn't said. But what happens when we really look at that fully is that we're in the present. We don't need defenses. We can connect spiritually, open up our intuitive intelligence, and what comes with that is this creative energy, what I call inspiration energy, and all the flow of synchronicity that comes from that. But it all starts with this idea that once we come to grips with our unconscious life and that part of the story, then that's the breakthrough point to go on with an amazingly exciting and inspired life, and being able to have spiritual support, help that we feel in our hearts, and all that goes with that. So it's really my pleasure, to have written this introduction to Anna, because it is a story about a life that was very, very difficult, but yet moving into self-awareness, that same journey that each of us has to take. And so, it was my pleasure. I was glad to do it. I'm just, I have no monetary interest in it. And so I'm not pushing it for that reason. I'm pushing it because I truly feel like it's a model for what we all have to do. And it's a challenging model, but it's something that we all have to do to break through to our greatest self. So, Joanne, so you're the one that discovered this as your mission. I'd like to hear a little bit about it.
Oh, of course. It's a pleasure. So in 2014, I met a lady online who was searching for an author who would be willing to listen to her life journey and transform it into a fictional novel. So she knew she was about to die, and she felt an overwhelming urge to share her story with the underlying belief that she might be able to help others who had suffered trauma or are living a difficult path. From what I initially knew of this lady, who wished to remain anonymous, she seemed very wise, compassionate, and really very likable. So when I saw that she had a story to share, it piqued my interest, and I decided to apply. A couple of months then went past, and I got a message from her saying she'd chosen me out of the people who had approached her, and she wanted to know how we'd begin. So I took my first phone call with her to discuss the project, and because I knew she was terminally ill, I'd incorrectly assumed that she was elderly. And I was rather shocked to discover that she was only in her 50s. And it was during that phone call, she told me, she said, "Joanne, if we're really going to do this together, then I need to warn you that this is a turbulent story that I have to tell." She said, "So tonight I want you to imagine the worst, the darkest things you possibly can, and decide if you're willing to write about such events. And if you are, we'll start the interview process tomorrow." So as instructed, I then spent that night considering what she'd said and wondering just how dark this story would go. And now I've read a lot of Stephen King in my time, so I must confess that evening my mind did spin out a little bit, wondering just what on earth I was going to hear. But deep inside me, I knew I wanted to discover her story. And I felt that synchronicity was definitely at work in having brought us together. So we started the interview process the next day. And we went on to talk every day over the phone, probably for 6 months. And every time I took her phone calls, I would be on the edge of my seat, just wondering what was going to come next. The story never did go anywhere near as dark as my imagination had been prepared for, but it is a very raw and frank, emotional journey that's being offered in the book. But for me, it's a journey of darkness to light. And for me, there's so much love and compassion within it that I find it offers a very uplifting and powerful message. And personally, I found it's a story that's touched a part of my heart and soul like no story ever has before. I think I should be very clear. The lady who inspired the book was adamant she didn't want a biography creating. She wanted it to be fiction, separated from herself, so that the protagonist may exist as a character in her own right. And it was this act of mixing fact with fiction that really intrigued me very much. So during the last 7 years, I have poured my energy into this project, learning the craft of creative writing and doing everything I can to make this a book that is worthy of readership. And honestly, it's been an amazing process. It's a story that I have fallen in love with. There were many times that I found myself crying at my laptop as I typed, just in response to the emotion that I feel within the text. And I guess now at this point that we are setting Anna free to venture out there into the world, I can only hope and pray that this novel that I've created does justice to the woman that I knew. And I hope the experience that I found within the stories is conveyed to the reader, and that it may touch their hearts in a similar way.
Well, that was a great story. You know, when I hear you talk about the energy within the story and your creation, your high energy creation and how you sound, it reminds me of the way that I felt when I was writing the Celestine Prophecy, because there's a kind of muse, you could call it. There's a kind of higher intelligence, meaning a divine guidance that comes in, that makes you a kind of messenger, and it's really a fun process, and every writer will talk about that. It's the act of writing stories, especially novels, is that it just takes on a life of its own, and it's part, in my view, it's part of the help we get from the afterlife dimension, with just trying to get all this spiritual information in, and what we need to do to enlighten the world. And I think it's I can tell that the book kind of wrote itself for you, and that's really fun. That's really fun. So what are you gonna do? This book is out. What are you gonna do now in terms of your writing life?
So, well, I believe our next project, James, is our breakthrough book, is it not?
Well, we've got that one too. That's right.
So yes, for the last, how long is it? The last year, 2 years now, we've had a project for taking the Celestine insights into a practical self-help book rather than a novel, which I'm absolutely delighted to work with you on. So I'm hoping that, I know you're really intensely working on your new novel, Celestine 2, that's coming out later this year, I hope. But with Anna coming out, then I'm certainly going to be focusing on the breakthrough book, and I started a new novel, which I'm calling Sarah at the moment. That's about 70,000 words in on first draft, so that's another creative project that is there burning on the back burner at the moment, but I hope to bring it forward.
Well, that'll be part of your writing life for sure. Is your next novel, and I personally can't wait for that to come out. She mentioned my new book. It's the subtitle. I'm not going to release the name of it yet. It should come out around November of this year. But it'll be a Celestine Prophecy continues kind of story, because God knows it seems like we're living in a really new world from a breakthrough spirituality point of view, but at the same time as a kind of revealing of the dark side out there. So it's a book about realities in our current life, and how to make sure that we stay on the light side, and that we don't go into competition with the forces of corruption that we're going to have to look at in the next 2, 3, 4 years. But it'll be that's what it is, and it seeks to speak to all the generations in play right now, which is baby boomers seeking their creative life to leave a legacy for the world, for their children and grandchildren, and the millennials, of course, are all moving past 40, and what that means is that what every generation asks at moving past 40 is this all there is? Is this all? Especially now, we're all clamped down, and is this all there is? Or how can we break through? What can we do to find a high inspiration mission in the world? Because connected spiritually, that's as good as it gets. That's why we're here, to do what we're supposed to do. Now, Kelly, you decided to. Kelly's the owner of SelfingVision.com, by the way, but she is, now moving into publishing. So, what made you create Insightful Living Publishing?
Yeah, so I created Insightful Living Publishing so that I could be involved with helping authors bring inspiring tales, true stories. I love real experience of personal growth and spiritual experiences through a character journey as my favorite read. And also on any one-on-one work I do, I'm also a life coach. And I love hearing and watching people go through life experiences and grow into and find the person that they, their most inspired life. So my company then is to help people in various ways through coaching, but I am especially attracted to getting books out into the world that I feel should be there and have, a real story to teach. I think we learn so much. There is to learn so much from hearing people's personal experiences through trauma, through tough times, which can be learned, and we can see that when we read and we hear those experiences. So yeah, I'm just thrilled to be a part of Anna. Joe and I started working together 4 years ago, and so I've gotten to see firsthand the last and final editing stages of Anna, and it has allowed me to deeply connect with Joe. So to hear so much synchronicity occurring in her life, and watching also us work together on Celestine Vision. So there's a lot of synchronicity in how she and I met, which has just been really beautiful to see play out our friendship. And so I knew after reading Anna that I had to be involved. However I could help bring this work to the world, I wanted to do that with Joe. So I'm just so proud to be with you, Joe, on this journey. I wish Anna all the success in the world.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Well, Kelly, I really think that your coaching really speaks and sort of empowers your publishing, because we've, again, through the Human Potential Movement, we've gotten clarity about what has to take place for us to really connect to a kind of spiritual consciousness that and become super creative. So you're a 7 stream is what I would call it, and a lot of this is in the new book, but it's a new type of breakthrough system called the Enneagram. And the Enneagram has been used for many, many years, has a history of its own, but it's also being discovered. The best use of the symbol, essentially, is what it is being discovered all the time. And so I believe it works best to think of us as belonging, everybody, to 9 different streams of intelligent, intuitive information coming from our abilities, that intuitive intelligence that we have. So we all get a kind of stream of information. Each category of these 9, get a little bit of different information. So once you know exactly what your intuitive stream is, or what in Enneagram parlance is number, what your number is, that is a knowingness of how you actually uplift the world and other people naturally. And once you understand your natural message based on your intuitions and the way you help, it's a breakthrough to knowing who you are and what your mission is. I mean, your mission can be in any area of the world, in any category of human striving, but you know how you uplift the world and you embrace that. And so my question is, I guess you'll be looking for books that somewhat express that, how do we know our mission, who we are, how we help, and are able to break through the way we misuse our gift in a way that identifies what that gift is. So it's really funny. Everybody has to cop to their and understand our defense mechanisms. How we try to fend off the world and what our coping devices are. What we do to kind of distract ourselves in the world, and that slows us down, obviously. But what we're discovering is if we can figure out and break through that defense system that we have, what happens is that we tune in spiritually, and then we're much more, we don't ever have to defend ourselves anymore, because that's the spiritual connection and the high inspiration energy that gives us all the security we need. So it's a great conversation. And I wonder how many Enneagram books or Enneagram novels maybe will be coming up in the future.
That's what I would like to see, for sure.
I think it's really interesting talking about the Enneagram from the perspective of novels, from an author perspective. I'm going into writing my next book now, Sarah, which is completely fictional. I was chatting with Kelly about the different Enneagram types, and I've picked a different Enneagram type for each of my characters. And I think when you start at that point and you think, okay, how would my character react in this way, having the background of the Enneagram types there to think, okay, well, they're under stress, they're going to react like this because they're a type 8 and they're going to be highly vocal. Or there's, I think it's a really, really interesting tool from a writer's perspective, as well as from a spiritual perspective, a psychological perspective for us all as individuals. From that fictional world, I personally find it a really useful tool there too.
Because that just makes more insight in the book. You'll have, because this is a time of breakthrough to your mission. The millennials are right now the dominant adult energy in the whole world. Some people even say that we're all millennials now, and I think that millennials have just become aware of their power, and this is what millennials are telling me. So it's and that power is to unify without without joining forces with some dark side or dark effort to control, but to keep, you know, creative freedom alive in the world as a valid value, as one of the values that we want to hold on to. And that's so very, very important. And I think, you know, this urge to unity, and it's also an urge to clarify the values that we want to pull together for the human race. Mm-hmm. And that'd be quite a journey that millennials will have through their entire lives, in order not to validate something dark, and to always go to a kind of verifiable, heart-based, spiritual-based view of the world, and form these new values that way, and on that side. So again, it's really fun to see all this happening, all this creativity happening. I think that in the long run, that if we just remember that the bored life, the scared life, the ordinary life, is just what we do with our control dramas and those kinds of things. What we're built for, what the universe is designed for, is to break through into this high, intuitively led, synchronistically aware flow of life. And again, I think we're starting to know about that. I know that when Anna was able to really reach a crescendo in the book, mm-hmm. Joanne, she was really, she had moved past having a past, or having a story that she was worried about or didn't know how to explain. She was ready to bear all, show every bad decision, every thing that happened because not enough people cared about each other as she lived her life and where she lived her life. And so she was, it sounds like she was really living it and ready to share the kind of message of breakthrough, to how to get past your life story that you don't like into one that is your miraculous journey going forward.
Yeah, I think as well, I mean, the part of the message that she wanted to tell was that, well, this is one of the main reasons that I took on the book. I found out very early on, she said, you know what, I no longer believe in life after death. I know it's true. And she said that through a near-death experience, she had voyaged to the other side, and she'd seen the next dimension firsthand. And that was part of the message that she had, because she said at that stage, she said, I don't have any fear of dying now. That fear is gone, because I know that in consciousness, we continue. Now, I absolutely adore to hear about people's metaphysical experiences. I find that kind of thing fascinating. And I know many of these Celestine fans do too. So that was very much a part of her message as well. You know, she wanted to share every part of her journey. And I mean, I have no idea whether what she told me was true or not, but it felt like the truth. And she was so passionate and just honest with me when she spoke, that everything that she told me, I could imagine happening, including this voyage to the next dimension, which she says, you know, right at the beginning of the book, that I want to tell you about my life. You know, we've got in the opening chapter. I want to share with you about my life, to try and help others who might be struggling, but also to say, you know what, we can talk about spiritual experiences confidently. We don't need to be feared. We don't need to be afraid of being seen as wacky or out there for saying, hey, I had something happen to me that I can't explain with science, because there are more and more people that are finding the confidence to talk about their spiritual experiences all the time. It feels like there's a new age of spiritual confidence happening out there. And so she's saying that I'm going to tell you this, you can believe me or not, it's fine. But for her, it was her truth that, you know, nobody could ever take away. And it happened. So for me, I thought, wow, okay, my ears are wide open to this. Let's go. Tell me all.
Well, yeah, that just gives the potential readers out there just what kind of energy this book has. And it's you know, it's just a fun thing to see everything working together right now out there. And if I could just get one more question to you, Kelly, about the Enneagram. So people the Enneagram really now is a kind of coaching methodology, isn't it? Looking for breakthrough points, all normal, how to deal with all normal problem emotions.
Sure.
Yeah, and I've always felt it really insightful to understand that the problem emotions we have are anger and anxiety, or let's just say fear, normal fears of what might happen, and then emotional hurts. Things that people have done to us, we think, or maybe it's really happened, and that we can't let go of, right?
Yeah.
That tend to pop up and and take us back to that awful place, whatever it was. I mean, it can be as simple as a breakup, right?
Yeah.
Are much worse in terms of abuse of some sort. But it's the kind of thing that when we talk about these problem emotions, part of the Enneagram that I like to discuss is how we move to a greater self by blending other these other intuitive streams together. So it's really funny, just to explain for a moment. The Enneagram is a circle with nine points around the circle and lines that go between, and these are numbers 1, 2 through 9, and there's an arrow going from any one particular number to another, right?
Yeah. So
I'm just going to talk a little bit just to make this discussion as broad as possible about getting past our hurts. I'll just talk about my own intuitive stream. Now, this will be obvious to everyone who knows my work that I'm a 5. If you know the Enneagram, the 5, the gift of the 5 is to be able to dig deeper and get maybe hidden or not well-known information, and to give it as a gift to the world, right? Now, the problem with that is that it's a very solitary, and it can be the problem anxiety for a 5 is fear. Excuse me, the emotion is fear. And so the fear is, okay, I can dig all this up, but I have to actually present it intelligibly. It's maybe something the world doesn't know yet. So you have to stick out in the world, right? And for the 5, that's anxiety producing. So and the 5 copes with that by hiding away. In terms of control dramas, a lot of aloofness. Don't make me reveal myself. That's too anxiety. Much less all this information I'm digging up that needs to be revealed. But there's a line from the 5 that goes to the 8. So the 5 is a researcher that digs around, but has trouble getting it out. And so that era essentially says that in order to have this intuitive stream of information to give, and to give it, you have to blend in another intuitive stream, and the arrow points to what it is, and it's the 8. The 8 is when the 8 is defending, it looks like dominance. It looks like having the last word, even some anger, generally, showing. But once 8 is clear of that and breaks through to their gift, it's strength. It's strength, heroic strength. That's that intuitive strength. So naturally, for a 5 to be all this stream could be, it has to blend strength. You have to hang around with an 8, the healthy 8, where you can see, and through osmosis, you open up to another stream of intuitive information. So what's always fun to me is to realize that, I've known a lot of 8s. I can hang with 8s. My father was an 8. I had a lot of 8 energy. So what happens then is that the 5 gets the strength, the heroic bravery to write something new, maybe from an angle nobody's seen before, and get it out there, and then can talk about it intelligently. So you have to have the strength. Now, everybody listen out there, you have an intuitive stream that's natural for you, and you can break through to where you need to go, and what other gifts that you need to expand your own gift with. Like the 5 expands by hanging around with and opening up to this 8 intuition. You would have to say that the greatest wisdom mystic, the Christ walking the earth, probably had all these intuitive streams working at once, right? So that's the long-term effort that is and potential in this, using this simple to grow with. We can all move to our greatest gift and keep expanding and adding more intuitive breadth in the way we help the world. So that's what this human potential getting out is all about. I just can't get more excited about the Enneagram. Now, Kelly, there are a lot of Enneagram coaches out there. You're one. What's the single most important starting place for that?
I feel like most people identify with more than one number. So there's, first step 1 is really finding the energy that is really occurring the most, and to be your main type. The Enneagram uses 1 through 9 just to keep it all. Each one is different. Each one has a gift and a fallback, egoic defense. So no one number is better than the other. They use numbers just to keep it completely general. So it's just finding yours, and then watching your life and seeing how, as you're moving through, you're going to relate and see things that maybe you were unconscious to, especially potentially a motivator, something motivating you that you are using in your life, and you can start to see how it's affecting you potentially in a negative way, your relationships in a negative way. So step 1 is just seeing what's written there truly playing out in your life, and then integrating a higher way of being and using the symbol to help guide you, almost like a roadmap. I'm in love, can't speak enough on the Enneagram as well. And I think it's neat hearing Joe has fallen in love with it, and we have beautiful conversation around it, talking about the story of Anna and the characters in her story. It's just a cool way to experience, in your life.
Yeah, it's breakthrough. It's like moving, healing. A big part of this is the role of meditation. If you listen much to me, you know that I believe in a meditation that doesn't just release and let go of the mental chatter, but also emotional chatter. All these lower emotions have to be replaced with a kind of a divine-based agape love, a love as a state of, an emotion you carry around all the time. And the human race is we've talked a lot of love, but opening the heart and really living that out loud, that's what's happening now. I mean, that is a huge value, I believe, that millennials will really want to have as part of the world. I mean, without it, everything's just mental. Everything's just mental this, and trying to force your role in the world, and it's ego based. What happens when we have a love connection as our primary emotion? All these problem emotions just bounce off this love, and love becomes the most powerful anchor, the center that we can go forward with. And what happens is it also includes our intuitive intelligence. And the people I know who are working on doing this, I just want a moment. And Anna, it was clear that she had moved into this space. But when you hold the emotion, that's the emotion you're walking through the world with. What happens is that it's the key to allowing this intuitive intelligence to come in as a thought, as a one quick example. When I'm working on this, trying to practice it, what happens is that these not only do the guidances occur, put me in a place where synchronicity can happen and things move faster. Protection, always, premonitions, protection. Just the other day, I was sitting writing very concentratedly on the new book, but all of a sudden I got this feeling, an idea that something was wrong, and it wasn't a fear, that coming up obviously because of a past situation that I was scared about, but it came up as a intuition that I needed to do something. So where we live, there's a lake cabin nearby, and I knew I had some friends there. I thought maybe they left something on the stove, something anyway. But so I just got up and went over there. And when I went over there, I found our dog in the water trying to cross from the cabin over to the bank, just treading water, going nowhere. And what had happened is his collar under the water, there was a limb sticking up. He didn't see it, so it got in his collar, and he could not go forward. He was just there treading water. And when I got there, he was going under, and he'd finally come back up. So he was on the last chance, and so we got him out of the water. So this is, I want to talk about the human potential movement, opening up to our true gifts and the way the world is really designed to be lived. It's this kind of thing. It's guidance that you remember things when at the last minute. It's going to destroy your whole day if you had forgotten, but it comes back to you right when it needed to. So this is what intuitive intelligence is. So when we're talking here about examples, from the book Anna that's being released today, to these other elements of what Anna signifies, this opening up to a spiritual consciousness connection that really gives us a greater life, because we don't have to do it all with the ego. It doesn't have to be this hard trying to figure out how to make a living. We're guided in that if we do the work, So meditate, find a love-based emotion that you can hang on to, and read good books like Anna. By Joanne Louise Hardy. And I understand there's a Joanne Hardy out there who writes other books, right?
Yes, so we need to use my middle name too.
Joanne Louise Hardy has written Anna. It's out there right now. Any last comments by everybody?
I just say thank you so much, James, for having me on your show. It's been an absolute delight, and thank you for all the guidance and the mentorship that you've given me with this book. You know, you've put many, many hours into reading it and giving me your feedback and giving me your intuitions for, you know, how I can steer the novel forward. And I'm just completely grateful, and just feel very, very humbled to work with you in that capacity. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well, you're the one that did the work, so congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Kelly?
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me be involved in this journey. I'm just in celebration for all the hard work and excited to see how the world receives Anna. This is such a beautiful day. So I'm just so glad to be here with you.
You know, there's one more thing I have to tell everybody about what we're doing at CelsingVision.com is the community. And you know, what I do is, yeah, I'm on radio somewhere all the time, and what I try to say is find a community, start a community, get a group together. Because the world is now about unifying around the right values, and that happens in a community. Speaking the truth of your own, you know, moments in life that maybe still bring you down. You know, being able to be honest about it and to go past it. That's because people are listening, right, and saying, yeah, I've been there too. You know, this is so yeah. So, you know, the Celsing Prophecy community is designed to have these kinds of conversations. You've got a Enneagram Breakthrough class going. I have a move from insight to actual ability class going on the community. So we want to invite, you know, everybody. Just get Celsing Vision, and you'll get an explanation.
Yeah. Yay.
So again, big celebrative congratulations to everybody. Thanks out there for listening. Hope you got something out of it. Check out this book. Check out our community, and we'll just upward and onward.
See you next
time. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.